Hello and welcome to How to Cut Your Own Hair Sample with Sheila. Okay, so a lot of the time it's going to help greatly if you're able to cut your own sample, and it really isn't very hard if your hair is long. If your hair is short, it's actually a good deal harder. Um, so you would probably just have to have somebody helping you. Okay, but the great thing about long hair, as I'm going to show you, is that you can basically get it out. You get the surrounding hair to the area where you are taking the sample from. You get that out of the way, and you can, feel what you're doing with your fingers, and you're good. You can just snip right up there next to the scalp and get your sample. Okay, so what you're going to need to do this is a scrunchie, and you might even want two of them if you want to put scrunchie on the lower hair, because you're basically going to divide your hair into two chunks, like the hair above where you're cutting the sample and the hair below where you're cutting the sample. Now, I usually use my hand to kind of keep the hair below where I'm cutting the sample from out of the way. But it may help you to have like an additional one of these. Okay, so your scale for cutting your sample, or weighing your sample. A really good pair of scissors makes a difference. Okay, so get the $20 or $25 scissors, not the cheapo ones. And then sometimes, especially if your hair is a little shorter or you have wisps or whatever that want to get out, some of these big long alligator kind of clips are good to have. You're usually not going to need a comb, but you might, given your situation. So if you're cutting for the first time, okay, you're not going to already have a sample where you're going back to that spot. Okay, but here's how I do it. When I would cut a first sample for somebody or on myself, what you want to do is you want to be able to find that place again. So I just do it in a routine way. That way I'll be able to find it on somebody else or on myself. Well, on myself it's actually so easy because I have a fairly big piece of scalp where there's hair missing, because I cut samples quite frequently. And that means I need a larger area from which I cut the sample, because the length is quite short. So to get the amount of hair that I need for a proper sample, I have to use a larger surface area. Okay, but here's how you do it. Put each finger right at the top of the ear, and right in there touching your scalp, and draw your hands together. You may have to put your fingers up like this. Draw your hands together around to the back until they meet. Okay, and for me, this is going to be the area where I've had a sample cut from many times before. Haven't had any hair back there now for I don't know, probably 10 years. So you're going to get all this hair that is above that spot where you've cut the sample from before. Okay, can you see that? I hope. See how there's like my little bald spot right here? It's an area about this big on me, but on some of you it's going to be a pretty small little piece, but you'll be able to grab it. Okay, so that's your thing, is you've got to be able to grab that piece. So if you have done this and you can't find the piece, you need to keep working at it a little bit until you find the piece. You may have to go a little lower, or you can do this with somebody else to help you. And the thing is that you don't really need that other person to physically wield the scissors if you are afraid that they don't know what they're doing. Okay, but you may need them to look around in there and make sure, oh, okay, here it is, here's the spot that's already got the short hair. Okay, if you're doing a retest, cutting a sample after you've already cut samples from that area before. Okay, so for me, it's really easy to find. I've got all this hair, and this is what's going to be in the way for me to cut the samples. So I'm just going to take it and twist it, pretty high up on my head to get it out of the way. And that's what I'm going to use my scrunchie for. So I got a little top knot there. Okay, so you do that. Okay, and now I've got my hands free, and I've got this piece of hair down here, right? So again, I'm going to show you what it looks like in the back. I'm pretty sure it was clear before, but my hands are free. This is up out of the way. The area where I'm needing to grasp, which for you is going to be a lot smaller, is here, okay? I'm going to cut, you know, probably just, what I do is I search around for, okay, it's a little bit longer over here, and then I cut from there, okay? You can see what I'm doing, and I'll turn around again when I actually use the scissors and cut my sample, because I'm ready to cut a sample. You can see what I'm doing with my hand that is holding the lower chunk of hair out of the way, because the biggest thing you're trying to avoid is you're trying to avoid cutting hair that you're not trying to cut, okay? So you got to get that hair out of the way, and just that one little piece where you're trying to snip. And don't worry if you're not like super exact, like right up against the scalp, because as long as you've washed your hair, the best would be to wash it the night before you're going to cut the sample. I think that's actually ideal. And then the next morning or afternoon or whatever, you're going to cut your sample. And that's going to give you a really decent hair sample, as far as it's going to really reflect what's actually going on in your body. So, and if you're not, like I said, if you're not right up against the scalp, it's not that big of a deal. Just do the best you can, okay? So here we go. Like, you're going to see I'm holding this, I'm just keeping one hand down on the bottom portion of it to keep that hair out of the way. So, well, at least while I'm grabbing the piece I'm going to cut, that hand is going to be there. And then I need one hand holding the hair, okay, and the other hand holding the scissors, okay? So we're going to do this, all right? I got my scale right there, my scissors right there, and right now what I'm doing, and I'll turn around while I'm doing this, what I'm doing is I'm kind of feeling around here to make sure I've got the sample area, or the sample chunk, tightly you know, grasped and away from the other hair, okay? So hopefully you're able to see this, okay? So here it is. Here's my little piece. See how I'm grabbing that? That's what you're going to do. You're going to grab your piece and make sure that you don't have any of this in there, okay? So this, if you want, tie this out of the way so it doesn't get, you know, accidentally cut, okay? And then you're going to go and you're going to grab your scissors, and hopefully you're able to see this. See, what I do is I open up my scissors and I very carefully place them around that sample. So see how right now I could snip, and this hair is going to come when I snip. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay? So that's my first little snip. You can't see it very well because my fingers are covering most of it, but basically that's what you're going to do, and you're going to do it until you have enough, okay? And so I'm going to hold my scale up here. Here's my little bit of sample, okay? So there it is. I have a few little longer pieces in there, that's okay. So basically this is what you're looking at. Now that's not going to be enough. I'm going to set it down, it's not going to be enough. So I'm going to have to keep snipping a little more and a little more. But for those of you who don't cut a hair sample like every 2 or 3 weeks like I do, which is kind of crazy, you're going to probably snip once and you might have enough, even after you cut away anything that is longer than about 1 inch. Okay, so if you're on a program and you're changing, or even if you're not on a program and you know you're changing because you're doing a lot of detox and stuff, you really don't want that sample to be longer than about 1 inch. So let's say I had cut this and it was actually like that long, you know, instead of like this little short thing. Then what you want to do is you want to be aware when you bring that around, like which part was up against the scalp, okay, because that's the fresh stuff, all right, and which part was the ends, all right, and you're going to cut so that you have just 1 inch from the fresh right up next to the scalp part, and you're going to toss away the part that was the ends, okay? So I'm going to turn around, let you see me do this one more time. Hopefully, you know, this is all making good sense. and we'll hopefully get the full sample with another couple snips. So again, I'm gonna grab this, get it out of the way. I'm gonna reach, you know, kind of move around here to make sure I have a good piece. For me, really just holding with my hand to, you know, keep the longer stuff out of the scissors or out of the chunk is plenty. I can grab a little piece right there. This is the hard part, actually. You've got to like get kind of, turn your scissors, get them in there, and then kind of pivot the thing and get it, just get it right placed up against your scalp. So your scissors are really, you can feel them right up against your scalp, and then you snip. Okay? So again, it's another little, you know, was pretty short pieces. Mine is like maybe at the most a quarter of an inch long, and I just keep going like that until I got enough. And that's why I have that big area that doesn't have any hairs, because I do that fairly often. So anyway, I think that's really all you need to know. I mean, it may be a little scary doing it the first time. And of course you can do it the first time, the very first time, you know, when you're just doing a very first sample. But the first time, it's not that hard to have someone else do it for you too, as long as you trust them. You know, they can just snip a little piece. The tricky part with the first time is you're going to want to be able to return back to that area and get, you know, get another, you know, get that area again instead of going to a new area each time, because a new area each time means that you're going to have all these spots all over your head if your hair is long. Okay, so please do not forget that when you put this in an envelope, it should go in an envelope. If you have not got an, I mean, it can be any clean envelope, okay? If you haven't got an envelope, just take a piece of paper and fold it up carefully so that the hair can't get out of there. But ideally, really don't put it in plastic bags or tin foil or anything like that, because it's really hard to get it out of the plastic bags because it sticks in there, okay? So give me some feedback on this video if it helped you or didn't help you, or, you know, if you have suggestions or whatever. And yeah, send me your sample.